You probably know me as a massive MacBook Air fanboy, let's be honest. But over the last few weeks, I've been using this. It's not that heavy, that's the joke. Don't worry about it. The initial reviews of the ASUS Zenbook S13 OLED, it's quite a mouthful, the name to be honest, but the initial reviews of this laptop came out about 3 months ago. I'm late to the party for two reasons. The first one is because I was late getting the review unit, and the second one is because I wanted to test it properly against my favourite laptop, well, one of my favourite MacBook laptops, the 13-inch MacBook Air. Just some context if you're new to this channel, as I mentioned in the intro, I am a massive MacBook Air fanboy, so for any other laptop to come into this world and try and steal the crown from this one, it has to be seriously good. And if that laptop, like the Zenbook Zenbook S13 OLED, is running Windows, that task is really hard. However, when I heard that the Zenbook S is the world's thinnest and lightest OLED laptop, I had to check it out. So the big question is, has ASUS done enough of a job to convert this MacBook Air fanboy? No, that's obviously not going to be the case at all. I'm massively welded to the macOS ecosystem. But my time spent with this thing has been incredibly revealing. Before I get into that, I want to talk about today's sponsor, which is Trend Micro and the Premium Security Suite, which conveniently runs on both Windows and macOS. And if you're looking for a complete all-in-one solution for your identity and device protection at home, it is your knight in shining armor. Premium Security Suite includes a VPN, password manager, mobile security, ID security, protection against ransomware, email scamming, and other forms of cybercrime. And as mentioned, it works across Windows, macOS, Android, iOS, Chromebooks. Basically, any device in your house is compatible with Premium Security Suite, which means everyone is protected. It even comes with full 24/7 human support, which is a real rarity these days. And there's a bunch of features that they've recently introduced, which I've had to write down because there's so many. There's up to 1 million identity fraud insurance. You even get 24/7 365 access to identity theft resolution specialists. There's ID theft affidavit assistance and submission. They also have credit freeze and lost wallet assistance, and they inform the police and legal authorities when something goes wrong. These are real people helping you with your identity and device protection. So to find out more about Premium Security Suite, just click that link below. Right, let's look at the specs and the pricing for the ASUS Zenbook S13 OLED. I will have to refer to them, I'm afraid, because I'm not a Windows person and some of this stuff is a bit foreign these days. Just very quickly, actually, guys, I used to be a Windows user. I'm not taking the you-know-what out of Windows here. I do have a special place somewhere in my heart for this operating system because I spent probably the first 15 years of my computing life using Windows. I used to love it back then. It's just that I tried macOS one day and, well, everything changed. But anyway, the Zenbook S13 OLED is powered by the 10-core Intel Core i7-1355U, which is clocked at 1.7 GHz. The machine that I have has 16 GB of RAM, but you can configure it up to 32, and this one has the maximum 1 TB of storage. On graphics duties, we have the Intel Iris Xe, and the entire system is beefed up with both Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. As for the OLED display, it is 13.3 inches, it has a resolution of 2880 by 1800 and an aspect ratio of 16:10. It has P3 color and a 60 Hz refresh rate. This is also apparently the most eco-friendly Zenbook to date. So it's made, well, the chassis is made from post-industrial recycled aluminium, and the keyboard cover is made from, again, post-industrial recycled magnesium aluminium alloy, and they also use ocean-bound plastics for the speakers. Everything is powered by Windows 11, and this version that I have is £1,499 at the time of filming if you buy it directly from ASUS. So the first question is, what do I like about the Zenbook S 13 OLED as a Mac user. Quite a lot. Let's start with the price, because although this is still quite an expensive laptop, it is still 250 quid cheaper than a similarly spec'd M2 MacBook Air. And in a world where everything is getting more expensive, that is refreshing. The second thing is the size and weight, which ASUS is making a big thing about. Obviously, that's the whole point of the Zenbook S. Even though it's roughly the same dimensions as the MacBook Air, it is lighter. It's lighter by, where is it? The MacBook Air is 2.7 pounds and the ASUS is 2.2 pounds. So it's significantly lighter, and you can feel that. But even though it's pretty much the same dimensions as the MacBook Air, it just, I think because of that weight, it just feels so much more portable, which is such a strange thing to say when, you know, the 13-inch MacBook Air is one of the most portable laptops on the planet. I really like this lid as well. I love that design. It's made from plasma ceramic aluminium, which is exclusive to ASUS. And the really cool thing about it is that due to the way it's made, no two are the same. So yours won't look identical to this, which means each Zenbook S 13 OLED is unique. But it's not just about looks, this is functional as well, so it offers better wear resistance, better thermal protection, and better resistance to corrosion. The other thing I love about the Zenbook S, and this is something you get with most Windows laptops still, is a really good port selection. On the 13-inch MacBook Air, we get a headphone jack, nice. We get MagSafe, brilliant. But then we get just 2 Thunderbolt ports. That's a bit mean, I think, bearing in mind how much money you're spending. On the Zenbook, we get the headphone jack, but we also get 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, HDMI, and USB-A. The only thing that's missing is an SD card slot, but you can't moan about the port selection on the Zenbook S. It is absolutely brilliant. The Zenbook also features facial recognition for logging into Windows, so there we go, logged in. Nice and quick, nice and convenient, and I think better than Touch ID. It also has a 180-degree hinge, which I've not found a use for yet personally, but if you walk around with your laptop like this and show things to people, which I think is what it's intended for, well, it works basically. Also, it gives you a ridiculous viewing angle. So if you work like this, which I don't recommend obviously, but if you do, then you can push the screen back and happy days basically. Also, the base of the display turns into the kind of rear feet for it as well. So as you open the laptop, the base becomes, like I say, the rear feet, which is just a nice design touch. But the crowning glory of this laptop is obviously that OLED display, which is just utterly beautiful. How they've managed to cram an OLED display this good into a laptop this thin is just amazing. And it goes a long way to justifying that price. I think possibly this is the best looking display I've seen on a laptop of this size anywhere, including the MacBook. Right, time for some downsides, and the first thing is that the Zenbook S has fans, which don't spin up that readily. This is a very quick machine, by the way. I don't do benchmarks, so I'm not going to show you benchmarks between these two because I've got better things to be doing. But trust me, it's a very quick machine, and for that reason, it's impressive, again, given how thin and light it is, that the fans don't come on very regularly. But the fact it has fans, for a MacBook Air user who is used to this blissfully silent world, is a bit irritating. And ironically, this does get warmer on your lap compared to this. Then we have the build quality, which isn't terrible on the Zenbook S 13 OLED at all, but when you compare it against the 13-inch MacBook Air, this is a much more premium feeling device. Battery life on the Zenbook S isn't bad at all, but it's not as good as the 13-inch MacBook Air. Now, I'm not going to do in-depth battery tests for this because I can't be bothered, but trust me, in normal everyday use, I just find myself charging this more than that. Then we have the trackpad, which isn't terrible, but like every single Windows laptop I use, just isn't as good as the MacBook Airs. It just isn't very satisfying to use. I kept finding myself clicking things by mistake and accidentally dragging things around the screen. I just wish Windows laptops, particularly like this one, which is a premium device, had better trackpads. And then lastly, we have Windows itself, which I'm not gonna start hating on because of the reasons I mentioned earlier. It does still have a special place in my heart, but I just don't like Windows as much as Mac OS. I find it clunky, slow. I'm starting to hate on it, sorry. I'm just not a Windows user, so for me, that's one of the reasons I'm not as keen on this laptop as that one, but that isn't a fair point of comparison because it's the operating system, and you may love Windows, and like I said earlier, this is a fast, smooth, and very capable machine. But is it a MacBook Air replacement? As mentioned earlier, I can't switch from the MacBook to the ASUS Zenbook S 13 OLED because I'm massively, well, I'm a big Mac fanboy, but also I am stuck in the Apple ecosystem. So pretty much all of those negatives that I've just given you about the Zenbook S can be disregarded if you're not like me. So if you're not stuck in Apple's walled garden, then this is an amazing laptop. And if you don't mind Windows, and if you just want the thinnest and lightest laptop to carry around with you, which has the most beautiful screen I've ever seen on a laptop of this size, then this is an absolute no-brainer. I love this thing, I just wish I was someone different. So basically, if you're not me, this laptop is probably for you. However, if you do want a MacBook Air, but these are both too small, then keep watching for a link to my full review of the 15-inch MacBook Air.